Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Jennifer Tolo.
Welcome. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Wren Tolo. I am a mom of 4 boys. That's really important to note, 4 boys. My background is as a critical care nurse. I have a master's in nursing administration, which I don't use currently. And I am kind of through my life's path, I went from critical care nursing to holistic health and healing. I am a whole health educator. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a mindfulness practitioner. And I am really passionate about helping people connect to or balancing that left brain, that logical thinking with their intuitive mind and their intuitive brain, and they're balancing that. And I call myself an integrative bridge to health. I help balance or help people bridge the gaps between allopathic or modern medicine and holistic health. And I help people bridge the gaps between science and intuition. And I help people bridge the gaps between caring for themselves and caring for others. And I love to help bridge the gaps between adults and children.
Okay, I like, my mind's blown just now. Just like, to me, the all those things, I love that you bridge the gap between those things, because in so many ways, like I think you said Western medicine and the, like, when I think of Reiki, I think the opposite of of being like a nurse. So how did you go from this super, scientific to this more spiritual realm?
So that is kind of diving into my story, and it was pretty powerful. So I, again, was very driven. I am a self-proclaimed type A personality. I was a critical care nurse. I loved sort of troubleshooting and managing. I thrived in chaos. I had my first son, and I had very clear expectations about, this is the way things are going to go. This is the kind of parent I am. This is the kind of child I'm going to have. All my ducks in a row, everything organized, kind of controlled chaos, if you will. And then I had my second son, and my second son had a massive stroke when he was born. And again, didn't go the way I had thought in my head or planned to have a child. And I remember waking up in the hospital, all the babies crying around me. And I was like, where's my baby? What's going on? Now, as a nurse, my nursing brain couldn't wrap around what was happening. I couldn't even go there. But my mother's brain was like, I am supposed to be holding my baby right now. And my baby is 30 miles away, because I had him at a community hospital and needed to go to a different hospital. And I remember being so stuck in this feeling of overwhelm and resisting kind of what was instead of going with what is. And I remember just taking some really deep breaths, and all of a sudden this clarity came. And I knew I just needed to connect to my son. I just needed to breathe and calm myself down. And it was like a fog lifted. And then this clarity came that I just needed to be with my son and connect to him. And he was going to let me know what he needed. And I had a dear friend of mine at the time that was a Reiki master yogi. She had been trying to get me to kind of go down that path. And I was like, yeah, that's great for you. I don't really see that for me. And then all of a sudden I realized, kind of intuitively, my son's going to need this. And so whatever my son needed, I dove into, I opened myself up to, I allowed myself to be guided. So that's when I really dove in and opened myself up to another side of healing, that was more of that holistic, connected, intuitive, energy-based healing, which is Reiki and whole person care, mindfulness, meditation, guided imagery, all of that. That's that. And then I needed all that because then my third son had leukemia. Same day I found out I was having my fourth boy, I found out my third son had leukemia. But at that point, I already was tuned into the intuition. I already knew the Reiki. I did Reiki on him every single day. Never had mouth sores, never had any of the really bad side effects of chemotherapy. And I learned the mindfulness, which was life-saving for me. So I could really be present. And I learned to kind of take one day at a time. And I also learned to let people help me. And I learned to that I was not in control and I could not be in control of everything. I had to let go of some of the control and just let things go and let go of expectations. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Is let go of your expectations.
I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said that you had expectations of what kind of mom you were going to be and of what kind of child you were going to have. Like,
oh yeah,
I can't even begin to tell you like how many times I feel like maybe I haven't heard those exact words, but I've gotten that sense from people that they had an expectation of how this was going to go, how I was going to be, how they were going to be. And it was just eye-opening.
well, and you know what it is? It is the resistance. What creates so much stress in our lives, and that's what I do now. I help people tame the chaos of their lives, because that chaos is often inside of us, because we have these expectations and we're resisting what is, and we're trying to control things that are not within our control. And then we're worried and panicking about what might be, instead of just letting things unfold and trusting that we have everything we need to handle whatever life throws our way. And I will honestly say, these experiences awakened me. I like to say they awakened me to the magic inside. They reconnected me to my gifts. They reconnected me to my intuition. They showed me that there was not weakness in allowing other people to help me, that there was strength in that. And that you really do need the community, and you need that connection to other people to help you through the hard times. But we can do hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing for me is that what we don't realize is that a lot of this anxiety that we have is just left over from our caveman days.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, where we're looking for problems so that we can stay alive. It's a primal thing.
Yes.
And it's
safety and security. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super important that we realize that there's not a tiger in that bush over there. They're not there. There's nothing in that bush that's going to jump out at us, and that most of the things that we deal with now, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Your son had a stroke. Your other son had leukemia, and you're okay. Like, you're here. They're okay, right? I think that we talked
they
about
are
that in our
okay.
opening.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Before we hit
Everybody's.
record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are okay. They are alive. My children are alive and well.
Yeah.
Not without challenges, but that's life, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, life would be boring. And I've recently heard that when you don't have problems, your brain doesn't think that all the tigers are gone. Your brain thinks that there's something wrong with it because it doesn't notice the tiger.
Oh, you know what? I can't tell you how many clients say to me, I am afraid to have joy. Like, I can't be in the moment when things are going well because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
And that's sometimes that's the burnout. That's when we get into that stress, fight or flight, or chronic stress mode, which is that I call it the stress spin, when we're in the stress spin all the time and we don't know how to get out of the spin. Our part of our brain, which is that caveman, that reptilian brain, is the one that gets triggered, and it triggers our emotional response to things. It makes us think there's danger. It makes us think we're threatened or we're in trouble. And then our fight or flight kicks in. And what I teach people to do is how to pause and connect and be present and take some deep breaths, which resets the nervous system within 2 minutes. It only takes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then to start to question the stories, because we have stories that we attach to from past experiences, from what we learned from our parents. And that's what we have to realize as parents. We're teaching our kids. Our kids are looking to us to get their signal. Am I safe? Is this okay? Is this not okay? It's attachment parenting, right?
Right.
They're looking to us to give us the signals and to help them feel safe and secure.
Right.
And when we don't feel safe and secure, that's when we go into that fight or flight to make us safe. But what we don't realize, to your point, is we're seeing threats where there aren't any. I mean, I call myself a warrior mom. I burned myself out because I was so busy putting out fires and that warrior mom that was ready to battle, that I didn't realize that there were times that I was battling that I didn't need to battle. Those were the times that I needed to just step back and let things unfold as they would, or I had to step back and just receive whatever was coming at me. And that's the important thing.
And I mean, you've had a lot to worry about, and every time you've said warrior mom, I've heard warrior mom, which kind of
no, it is. I call myself a warrior mom.
Okay, so you're not saying
warrior. Yes,
yeah, no,
warrior. Where's my shield and my
Right.
sword and
yeah.
yeah.
I like it. Makes me feel good.
Soldiers, right? But just like the soldiers, right? They have to learn how to rest and reset.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is as moms that put all this expectation, not just on other people, but on ourselves. We think that we have to be perfect and we have to do this and do this. And whatever we do is not enough, that we feed this exhausted warrior, because we get depleted, because we think that we have to be on all the time and we don't allow ourselves to rest and reset.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're burned out.
Right. Okay. I want to talk about stress and burnout, but one of the sayings that I've heard so many times that I grew, like, for a while, I actually liked it. And then I grew to hate it because, it's we're either in chaos, coming out of chaos, or about to go into chaos. And the chaos is the wrong word. It's crisis. Yeah. We're in crisis, we're going into crisis, or we've just come out of crisis. And I'm like, well, wait, when do we get to enjoy things?
Right. Although I do like the word chaos, obviously, because I call myself a chaos tamer, but I do like the word chaos, because chaos is craziness and churning outside ourselves, right? And unfortunately, that external chaos, which is just the uncertainty and the lack of rhyme or reason in our minds, we internalize that chaos, and then we allow that to create the chaos inside ourselves, right? Which is the worry, the stress, the overwhelm, the depression, the not enough, the spin cycle, I would say. But when we can't control what's happening outside us, but when we learn to stop, pause, and tame the chaos and calm the chaos inside of ourselves, then we can actually ripple that calm outside ourselves.
Right.
Because we have control of ourselves only, our thoughts, our choices, our actions, our reactions in the present moment. But we have no control over anything else. But what do we spend most of our time trying to control and tame? Everything
else. Yeah.
And we wonder why we're exhausted.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I've a lot of the people that I listen to and that I coach are always focused on the other person's behavior.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so much power in just focusing on what's inside of you and the things that you can control.
Right.
Like I spent so many years being super irritated at my ex-husband because he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And if I was him, I would be doing it this way and I would be doing it that way. And until I finally realized that I was mad at him for not being me.
Right. Right. Or reading our mind, right? I mean, I get
Yeah.
mad at my husband sometimes because I expect that he's just going to know something or know to do something. And
Yeah.
he's, often will say, I can't read your mind,
Right.
right? I don't know what's important to you until you tell me. And it's true.
Right.
Same thing with the kids, right? Our
Yeah.
kids. I mean, that is such a key part of what I do as well is working. My niche is really working with moms, overwhelmed moms, particularly overwhelmed moms of kids with special needs,
Mm.
and helping them connect to their own magic inside and their own power. Because so many of us feel so powerless because we feel like things are being done to us or happening to our kids or being done around us, and we feel like we have to do this and we have to do that, that we wind up disconnecting from our own mind, body, and spirit needs. We don't even, if you say, what do you need? People go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or time, or they say, it's funny, I did a marketing research poll and I said, if there was one thing I could do, one thing that I had a magic wand that I could give you that you think it was going to make your life better, what would it be? I had people's response say a sister wife. I had people's response say a cleaning person, a housekeeper, a chef, a personal chef. And I think these are all things that you think is going to make your life better, but it actually isn't.
Right.
Right.
I don't have any of those things. And like I actually made it so, my boyfriend and I discussed a long time ago about like who was going to do what chores around the house. Because obviously chores need to get done
Mm-hmm.
and we're equal in the finances. And so
Mm-hmm.
we split everything 50-50. So it came down to like who's doing which chores. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, I don't like doing the day-to-day stuff.
Right.
And I was like, I love doing the day-to-day stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that includes laundry and cleaning the kitchen. And
Yeah.
so I actually like then I was starting to be irritated with doing all the laundry because that's just
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we are, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then one day after a long conversation and multiple conversations about our love languages, I learned that my boyfriend's love language is acts of service.
Yes.
And so there was one birthday that I just did all of his chores
Yes.
and I didn't spend a dime. And
Yeah.
he told me it was the best birthday he ever had.
Yeah.
And when I started thinking of doing the laundry as loving my boyfriend and
Yeah.
serving my family, it
Yeah.
stopped being this thing that I hated.
Right.
And I also realized like the kitchen, the most time that the kitchen takes to clean is about 30 minutes, but because I do it every day, it takes about 5.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm truly blessed to
Mm.
have a dishwasher.
Yeah.
That's, I know that there are people that don't, but it's
Right.
like it takes 2.5 minutes to unload the
Mm-hmm.
dishwasher and it
Yeah.
takes 2.5 minutes to load it. And
Right.
I know that because I'd put something in the microwave for 2 minutes, and during that 2 minutes, I'd unload the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, it only takes 5 minutes. Well, I can do anything for five
Right.
minutes. I
Right.
I gave birth, you
Yeah.
know?
Everything seems so simple after that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, and I don't like to tell people that my longest labor was 3 hours.
Well,
But
I had C-section,
yeah,
so
yeah, I know. I won't
36
brag too
hours of
much.
labor, my first one, and then a C-section.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay, so let's
see?
talk about stress and overwhelm.
Yeah.
And so I saw this meme the other day, and I was talking to you about it before we hit
Mhm.
record, and it was signs of burnout. And
Yeah.
then you told me that you are offering our listeners something
Yes.
along those lines. So go ahead
Yes.
and tell us what
Yes.
that is.
I call it the Warrior Mom Reset, and it's my top 10 tips on how to tame the chaos of your life. And in it, because again, from my life, I was getting burned out, and I learned that when I was having migraine headaches, I thought I thought I was having a stroke. I literally remember reading a book to my kids, my little ones. My bigger kids were in school, and my speech dropped, and my mouth went numb, my arm went numb. My husband, who's a surgeon, called me to check in on, hey, how's everything going? And I was like, I couldn't speak. I couldn't form words. I was seeing pixels on the page. And he said, you have to call 911. And he thought I was having a stroke. And I thought, I can't call 911. Who's going to watch the kids? Like, I don't have time for that. Right? How often do we say that?
I don't have time.
I don't have time to call 911. Hello. That was probably like the flag on the play, right? Okay. Hello. You're waving your flag now. Like you're heading towards burnout. Anyway, it turned out to be an atypical migraine. But as I was saying, I was so busy caring for everybody else that I forgot to take care of myself. And when that happens, it just makes us feel even more overwhelmed and even more towards burnout. So I really was able to turn my life around and take back control of my health and my well-being by learning how to tame the chaos of my life. And so I put this together for other parents and other moms and people that are struggling. And this is a big part of what I teach. So I have this checklist. And again, if you get this, you can take this checklist. And basically this checklist is a warrior checklist to see where you are on the warrior scale. Warrior as in, WARR versus WORR. Right. If you're a balanced warrior, if you're feeling balanced, if you're a balanced warrior, an overwhelmed warrior, or you're a burned out warrior. And so you do this checklist.
Do you know what I love about your checklist?
What?
Is that no matter what, you're a warrior. Like even though you're overwhelmed, you're still a warrior.
100%.
Amazing.
Because you know what a warrior is? A warrior is somebody who shows up even in the face of adversity and challenge, who just keeps going and who shows up consistently. That's a warrior.
That's a mom.
That's a mom, right? But there are some moms, let's face it, that don't show up.
Yeah.
Right? There are.
Right.
And when you have a child with special challenges, especially, you really show up. And a lot of times you are battling because you are their voice, you are their advocate, and you do want what's best for them. Yeah. So here's the checklist. It's, and I can honestly say, I pretty much checked off all of these things. So I am exhausted most of the time. I never feel like I have enough time. I can be very reactive and even explosive. I have trouble concentrating. I feel overwhelmed. I worry a lot. I like to be in control. I like to plan things out. I do not take much time for myself. I get uncomfortable with change. I pride myself on my strength. I compare myself to others often. I do not trust or open up to others easily. I get very angry at people. I feel like people do not understand me. I have a hard time relaxing. I have trouble sleeping. I do not deal well with my feelings or emotions. I have lost some friends. I have trouble having fun. I feel sad a lot. I feel alone often. I crave caffeine and sugar. My kids are anxious and or stressed. My spouse or significant other and I argue a lot about little things. I have digestive problems and or migraines. So then I have you count up how many things you checked off, and then I have a scale for you to decide if this is, where you are on that warrior scale.
Yeah.
And then I offer some tips, but that's kind of the foundation, I would say.
And we'll talk about where you can find this checklist.
Mm-hmm.
But
I will give you the download. Yeah.
Yeah. You cut out just a little bit, but there's in the show notes, there'll be the link to download.
Yes.
And I like, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, that sounds like so-and-so. That sounds like so-and-so. That sounds like, it's just like there's so many moms that are going through this, and there's me in there too. I'm
of course
farther removed from it. So at this moment, I don't feel those now, but there were times where I definitely felt alone and misunderstood. And, I just, I love this tool so much that I wish that it was mine. So one of the beautiful things about recording a podcast at home and working from home is that we have gardeners that show up at all different times of the day. So there's going to be a little bit of background noise. I don't know if you can hear it, Jennifer, but
I can't. No.
I'm trying to stay on mute, but I'm doing the best that I can. But
I don't hear it. Yeah,
that's awesome. So hopefully there's not too much background noise that you can't hear what's going on. So now I've lost my train of thought. We were talking about the checklist.
About the checklist and how you were there at one point, but you're not there anymore. But there are plenty of people in our world that we know. And you know what's good about the checklist is you might not feel that way all the time, but there are moments where we just have hard times. We have hard days. I call it the roller coaster ride of life. There are times that you want to, like, you're at the top and you're like, woohoo, I got this. And then there are times where that dip is so big and so quick that you literally feel like, I want to get off and throw up. But the warrior mom cannot get off the ride.
Yeah.
So how do you find that inner resilience and pull yourself back and ride, knowing that once you learn how to tame the chaos, those ups and downs are not as dramatic. When you learn how to kind of balance your inner warrior with the battling warrior and the peaceful warrior, when you learn how to find that balance within you and tame the chaos within you, the ride becomes less like this and more like this. Because you're going to have ups and downs in life, whether you have a child with special needs or whether you just are a single mom, or whether, it doesn't matter. And what's hard for me might be different for somebody else. What's hard for you might not be hard for me. But that's the beauty of it, is it doesn't matter. It's what you perceive to be challenging or not. And then what tools do you have to be more resilient in your life? And that's a big part of what I teach people. I love to give talks to parents and to moms and to organizations. I love to give talks to teachers and help people how to learn how to use tools for themselves. And then once they use those tools for themselves and tame the chaos within themselves, then they can start to teach and ripple that out to the people around them, to the kids. But what happens is, so many of us parents try to control they try to control the kids' behavior. They try to control, and they don't realize every child's behavior, it's a symptom of something. There is something deeper going on. Sometimes their needs are not getting met. Now, what those needs are, that's our job to help them figure that out. But once we know how to tune into what our needs are, then we can teach our kids to do the same thing. And I can say that was my life mission with my kids. And my son that had the stroke is now 18. I didn't think he was going to be able to go off to college. He had a really hard time regulating himself. Now he just graduated high school and he's on his way to college. And he knows how to regulate himself. He knows how to advocate for himself. He knows who he is and he knows who he is not. That's what I teach people, and how to let go of those expectations and reevaluate. In the beginning of many of my talks, I say, take a balloon, blow up that balloon and put all of your expectations and thoughts into that balloon. And then you can choose to hold on to that and put that energy into holding on to that, or you can choose to let go and move on. And this is the big lesson that I teach people, is how do you become more resilient and ride that roller coaster like a boss, like a warrior.
Absolutely. I love everything you just said.
Well,
I'm so glad that your son is, doing well enough to go off to college, and that, know, he's like, all of those tools that you mentioned that he has really are amazing tools that 90% of us don't have.
Right.
Yeah. And one of my favorite books that I mention often on the podcast is No Drama Discipline. And it was, I picked it up because I was having drama discipline. Like there was drama, and I like hearing other people's drama, but I don't want any in my own life. And so it was becoming this battle that I just knew that there was a better way, and I needed help. And my boyfriend was so kind in reminding me that I love to read about and learn about how I tick. Why don't I read and learn about how he ticks? And I'm like, well, that's okay. And then I ended up, finding this book written by a guy that, literally studies the brain. And so it ended up being a win-win because that was the very first parenting book that I ever read.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I got out of it was, he says to connect before disciplining.
Yes.
And the way that I connect with my son is I ask him if he needs a hug.
Yes.
And I would say that probably 9 times out of 10, he says yes.
Yes.
And the one time he says no, he'll come back later and get a hug.
And you know what's crazy about that too is, and I call it grace. It's like these moments, because there were moments with my son where he would be just spinning out of control and lit or really taxing. And it was some of those hard days where you just want to be like, I need space right now.
Yeah.
But it's in those moments that they need us to show up for them even more. And so in those moments where I wanted to push him away almost, I really needed to find the grace to just hug him, because that's exactly like you said, that's what he needs. And sometimes they don't even know what they need. They really, if you say, do you need a hug? No.
Right.
I have with boys, and I don't know where your kids are. My kids are now 21, 18, 15, and 12. But with boys, sometimes, especially in the teenage years, they can get a little prickly. And there were moments where my kids would just get nasty, and I knew it was safe, that I was the safe place, because as they're trying to kind of figure stuff out and as they're keeping their stuff together for everybody else, they're losing it with me because I'm the safe place and I will love them unconditionally. But in those moments, sometimes it was hard. And I had to literally tell myself they love me so much that this is uncomfortable, or they're uncomfortable and they just need to kind of try to push me away, but I'm going to just hold the space. And it's hard.
It could be really hard. And I love that thought process that they love me so much that they know they can do this.
Yes.
And I will still love them.
Yes. And that's the biggest gift. You talk about books. So a book that I highly recommend for any parent, any educator, is a book by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. I love Dan Siegel. He wrote The Whole Brain Child, The Yes Brain, love all the books. But this book is called The Power of Showing Up. And what I love about this book is it talks about, we don't have to be perfect. Imperfect parenting is a reality. We are not perfect, nor does anybody expect us to be. But when we do have moments where we make mistakes, which we all do, we all do. I have some of those cringy moments myself. You repair, you own it. You say, I'm sorry, this just happened. And you own it and you repair and you get back on track, right? But it's when you show up for your children, and also you have to recognize how you show up for yourself and how your parents showed up for yourself, because there's patterns in our parenting. There are things that we don't realize that we're bringing in that no longer serve us, or that this isn't the kind of parenting that our kids need. And there's a new generation of kids that need a different kind of parent. So, we're going to make mistakes, but the beauty of it, and that's why I love the name of your podcast, Imperfect Mommying, no one is perfect. And when we think that we need to be perfect and do this, and our children need to be perfect, I will tell you, that's when we snap. That's when we crack. That's when we're missing something. We have to look at the whole picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Along that note, is there a piece of advice that you want to share with our listeners, with our moms?
I think the biggest advice I have is to really take those moments to pause and tune into your own mind, body, and spirit needs. When things are hard and when there's a challenge, there is a lesson and there's magic in the message of that challenge. Every challenge, I believe, is an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And when we tune in instead of out, that's really where we find our greatest power. That's really when we find that beautiful, magical connection, because that's when we really understand what we need in that moment. So, that's a big part of what I do. Like, I have a program called Inside Out Healing. And if there's one thing I tell people is stop looking outside you for the answers. Tune in, go in, and trust in that inner guidance and that inner wisdom.
Yeah. That's so incredible. Where can our listeners find you?
So I am in the process of starting a new website, but right now they can go to www.butterflyfamilywellness.com, and they can connect with me there, see what I offer. Soon I will be launching my new website, which is really about more of my speaking engagements and teachings. I have a book so that new website is jenniferwrentolo.com. It should be launched soon. I have a book out that's called My Family Fuel, A Busy Mom's Guide to Healthy Living. You can get that on Amazon. And I will give you the link for some of the downloads for my Warrior Woman Reset ebook, which is just a quick reset. It's got a couple little tools in there, and then more information on how you can connect with me and work with me. I love to give talks. So if somebody's looking for a speaker for their organization, particularly about, relating to parents or self-care and stress management, and learning how to tame the chaos of your life, you can reach out to me at Jen, Jen, at butterflyfamilywellness.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today and for pouring into our moms listening, and so many good nuggets in this episode. So thank you for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate the time and this opportunity.
Absolutely. So we will be back next week with another episode of Imperfect Momming. In the meantime, if you could like, subscribe, comment, all those things that you're supposed to do to make podcasts grow and more popular and improve the algorithms or whatever. And until then, keep healing. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AliciaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.